and welcome to On the Turf, hosted by four guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Shribam Kanda.
I'm Camille Manny. And I'm Ron Patel.
And we are entering Week 5 of the 2024 NFL season. Not a great Week 5 for any of our teams except Shree, who wasn't on the show last week. Shree, the Vikings are 4-0. How are you feeling? This is obviously a surprising outcome to you, I assume, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I told you, I think we discussed it, like the four of us. I predicted them going 5-12. Just like I thought they would have like a top 5 pick going into next year's draft. Never would I have imagined, like, not even the Sam Darnold like show or anything, but the defense was just all around like so much better. I think we have like our linebackers are like, we have someone in the top 5 in terms of the sacks. The secondary's just been great, and I don't know, man. Like the offense just looks amazing, and I still think, like I said it last time against the Texans, that we hadn't reached our potential, but now we have Jordan Addison back. TJ Hawkinson might be coming back this week. There's just so much more room for this offense to get better, and they've already beaten top 5 teams in the NFL. So I'm just excited for the season.
Yeah, I think great start for the Vikings, one of the last 2 undefeated teams. Obviously, the Chiefs also undefeated because we can't have nice things. But let's do a little recap of Week 4. I see, sure you weren't able to join us last week, so we can talk about the past couple weeks. Start with Broncos-Jets. Absolute barn burner of a game. 10-9 between these two teams. Rainy game in New York. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets did not look great offensively. Defense looked okay. And Bo Nix and the Broncos, despite having -7 passing yards a half, were able to pull off the win. Takeaways are there serious question marks for the Jets? Obviously, we also have the Devontae Adams news that he will likely be traded from the Raiders, the Jets obviously being the landing spot. Do we see a hope for this Jets offense, Camille?
Yeah, I think it's 3-4 weeks. It's a lot of the mistakes that I said would be associated with this Jets offense coming into the year. I think number one, the biggest issue is Nathaniel Hackett being the OC and Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback. What we've seen from Aaron so far, he's still talented. His arm is still there. His play isn't obviously at the level that it was when he was an MVP, but he's still good enough to be a top 10 quarterback and to get you to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. The issue is he's not really performing or playing within an offense that is really an NFL offense. It's just whatever Aaron wants, whenever he wants it, and Hackett doesn't really get a say in, or not necessarily a say, but it's not a very coherent, cohesive offense with a quarterback executing it. It's a quarterback that wants to do what he wants to do, and he goes out and he does that. And I don't think that's going to be very conducive to successful football. We see it in games like this. Aaron Rodgers really struggled. Jets offense as a whole really struggled. And I think it's not something that just Devontae Adams can come over and fix, at least when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this team, first of all, needs Devontae Adams. This offense looks like they need Devontae Adams. But more than that, I mean, I just don't think they're using their weapons to their fullest extent. I mean, you look at Garrett Wilson. He's really been held in check all year so far. Allen Lazard should not be your leading receiver. After 4 games. And I get that Garrett Wilson defense is key on him, but he's the type of guy that you have to find a way to get him the ball. You know, you have to scheme him open. You have to find a way to get your best player the ball. They're not doing that. They're just letting Rodgers go to the guy he's comfortable with rather than trying to find new ways to get the ball to your best player. And Breece Hall hasn't looked great either. I think he averaged, I know the game before last game, he averaged like 2 yards a carry. And the last game, I think it might have been like around 3 yards a carry. He hasn't been great at all. This offense has a lot of issues to work out. Quite frankly, right now, I think they can sneak into the playoffs, but I don't see them doing any damage there once they get there if this offense doesn't figure something out.
I hear all the stuff, Camille, you're saying about the coaching stuff. I don't necessarily disagree with Hackett. But I do think, if this team ends up getting Devontae Adams, which I think all of us would agree is the most likely outcome here, this offense is going to get much better. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams together, they have a connection that not many quarterbacks and receivers do in the modern era. And I have to imagine that not only will Devontae Adams be able to make a significant offensive impact on this team, but it will open up things for Garrett Wilson. It will open up things for Breece Hall. I mean, a lot of Jets fans have been talking about Garrett Wilson has not been producing at the level that they expected him to as a number 1 receiver on this offense. And having Devontae Adams there will open up a lot of favorable matchups. You have Garrett Wilson versus the number 1 corner. Sure, maybe the offense isn't great. Have him versus the number 2 corner, you can do a lot of damage there. I do think Hackett and, to maybe a larger extent, Saleh are going to hold back this team from its Super Bowl aspirations, perhaps. But with Devontae Adams, this offense is going to be top 10, I think, and they're going to be able to win a playoff game. Shree, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly echo everything you said. I think if the Jets do think and are serious about going to the Super Bowl this year, they'll make the move for Devontae Adams. they'll give up the good draft capital or trade capital or whatever, and they'll make a play for Devontae Adams just because he'll elevate this offense. And honestly, we already know how good the Packers were with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and with so many more weapons and such a great defense that the Jets have, I think they can go to the Super Bowl if Devontae Adams is with them right now.
All right, let's move. Stick in the AFC East. The Bills had a crushing loss on Sunday Night Football. We were talking about this game last week. I think Rohan was the only one here who picked the Ravens.
I told you how they could win this game, and they did just that.
They did this that. And Derrick Henry continues to own the Bills, it seems. Nearly 200 yards. Absolutely dominant performance from that Ravens offense. And the defense were able to keep Josh Allen in check. I'll start with you as our resident Bills fan. Does this affect your expectations for the Bills towards the season after a pretty, I wouldn't say surprising, but pretty impressive 3-0 start?
Not entirely. I think it makes me recalibrate a bit the issues with this team. I was overlooking, the first 3 weeks we had great defensive play, right? Especially in the passing game. And I was overlooking our potential weaknesses against the run because I assumed our linebackers, Dorian Williams and Jalen Spector, who were backup linebackers, but I thought they'd be good enough to keep the Ravens in check. That was not the case. They were both mauled, especially Jalen Spector. He was unplayable out there. He was just getting abused and targeted constantly on every single run. And I think the biggest takeaway here, for the Bills at least, is that we need our defense to get healthy again. We need Bernard and Milano to come back, Teron Johnson as well. Those are 3 guys up in the front 7 that you really need. You're going to be defending against a team like the Ravens. But on the whole, it doesn't really change my outlook on the Bills. I think offensively, we have to stop being a little cute. We had momentum going into that game. It was 21-10. And then Joe Brady calls this trick play that Josh Allen gets absolutely crushed on. In my opinion, if he doesn't call that, we could march down the field, score a touchdown, make it 21-17, and it's a whole new game. But just bad game for the offense, terrible game for the defense, but not one that I think is going to define the Bills season.
Yeah, first of all, from the Ravens' perspective, I think they finally found their identity. You got Derrick Henry for a reason, and it wasn't to, have him run the ball 2 or 3 times and then go back to the pass. It was to run the ball constantly with him and wear a defense down. And they finally figured that out these last 2 games, and it's worked very well for them. So I think offensively, the Ravens have figured it out. I wonder how long they can keep it going until they run into a team that can key on it and figure them out and force Lamar to win, force his receivers to win. I worry about that day. But it's not here yet. I think they'll be fine for now. The Bills, on the other hand, I think it comes down to the fact that, like I was saying, you kept the ball in Josh Allen's hands, and then Joe Brady, I think, got antsy with his play calling. You only gave the ball 9 times to James Cook. I think the offense needs to be centering around him more and centering around that run game more, especially in today's NFL. And only giving him the ball 9 times, I don't think is a recipe for success, especially when that's a great way to go down early and then force Josh Allen to make plays. And like I was saying, his receiving core is solid, but they're not a receiving core that's going to break the game open for you. They're not a receiving core that can help you get back into a game as great as Josh Allen is, and that's what happened here.
True.
I'll just answer the next question. I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah. Okay. I would just say for the Ravens, I think the Bills are going to be okay. This is still a very good team that I think had an off day. It's early in the season. I wouldn't sound the alarm bells yet. We'll see what happens this week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I will say for the Ravens, I think this is encouraging, but I would put an asterisk on it. I think we're seeing that the Ravens have one way to win this year. Their passing game is not working. It hasn't worked really in any game this season. Zay Flowers isn't showing himself to be able to be a number 1 receiver. Mark Andrews is regressing a little bit. I think that's true. They don't really have a significant downfield passing threat.
I agree.
If they aren't able to run the ball, if they face a team that's able to consistently score points on offense and stop the run, I worry about this team being able to come back and win games. Because we saw against the Raiders, when they faced a good passing attack and they got down, they weren't able to respond.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But let's move on to the final, game of week 4 we're going to talk about. Cardinals, Commanders. Rohan's Cardinals they're actually at home, but we're not going to talk about the Cardinals after this. Let's talk about Jayden Daniels. 42 points. I think near 80% completion rate or higher than that. 90% completion rate in week 3. Just honestly, MVP type performance these past couple weeks from the rookie from LSU. Commanders are 3-1, leading the NFC East. Do we think Jayden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback right now? I'll go quickly. He is. There's nothing right now to show us that he isn't. He's playing at the top of his game. He's doing what good quarterbacks do, which is elevate the team around him. Even in the first half last week, he did not play amazing. He threw a bad interception. That team continued to churn yards on the ground. And when he was needed to make plays, he made plays for them on the ground and through the air. I think the Commanders are easily the best team in the NFC East. They're back as a franchise. I think this is the first time we're significantly talking about the Commanders in 4 years of this podcast.
Shagun, listen, Shagun's been asking.
Shagun has been asking us to talk about
Take
the
command.
Take command, and they're taking command, and I think they're going to win this division. Maybe it's a little overreaction through 4 weeks, but I think they are. True.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm just so happy for Terry McLaurin. Like, that man has deserved a quarterback ever since he's been in the NFL. He's someone that's always gone under the radar because we all know how talented he is. You know, there's always been all those graphics from the NFL about like, oh, he's gone like 1,000 yards with like X many different quarterbacks and something. And he was actually able to call his own play in like a game like a week ago against the Bengals, I'm pretty sure. And that game itself, like when we saw Joe Burrow play a pretty great game and Jamar Chase having that connection, we still saw the Commanders come on top. So, you know, I'm excited for the Commanders. You know, the defense is a little bit of a question mark for me, at least long term. But if the offense is putting up 30 points, 40 points per week, I don't know, man. Like, it seems to me that someone's got to stop this offense, and it hasn't been anyone so far. So I'm interested to see how the divisional games will go with the Eagles, with the Cowboys. But, you know, I think they'll make the playoffs too, whether it's a wild card or whether them winning the division.
Yeah, I mean, I said this last week that Jayden Daniels was top 5, and he proved it this week, unfortunately, against my team. But yeah, just another outstanding performance. He's very poised. He's very poised. He looks comfortable out there. He's not making, and that's not that one pick, which was his first pick of the year. Not making many bad decisions, knowing when to use his legs. He's not looking to run every single play either. Just seems very veteran of him right now. I hope the wheels don't fall off. I think they might with Cliff Kingsbury at the helm.
Cliff is doing a great job right now.
I've seen this show before. I have seen this show before.
Maybe he's better as an OC than he is a head coach. Head coach has a lot more responsibility.
Maybe. And I will say this offense looks, I mean, they also seem to be taking pride in running the ball. Brian Robinson had 20 carries over 100 yards last week. So they're not straying away from that, which I like, which I think Cliff did quite a bit in Arizona. So looks good for now. Offensively, I think the offense looks good, but I'm very sure that Jayden Daniels will be a good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. Let's move on to sorry.
Yeah, let me just fit a word in. I think the biggest thing with this game for Jayden Daniels is that he showed he's not just a talented quarterback, he's also just a very good quarterback. Because you look at his stat line, just the touchdown and pick, but he was consistently moving the chains, making the right decisions, getting it to guys, keeping plays going. It's just very impressive to see from a rookie in his 5th game. It's not like he's going out and he's just tearing teams apart because he's so much better than everybody, but he's smart. He's able to drop back, analyze the defense, and take what he can just to keep the chains moving. Love to see it.
Yeah, we could be seeing another Stroud here. Second pick of the draft. And speaking of CJ Stroud, let's move on to week 6, or week 5 rather. Bills Texans. We've talked a lot about the Bills the past couple of weeks. You don't need to talk about them probably as much today. Let's start with the Texans, because I don't think we've talked about the Texans that much. 3-1 start, but I don't know if they played a really complete game yet. In varying points, their offenses looked out of whack, their defenses looked out of whack. They obviously got their face knocked in by the Minnesota Vikings a couple weeks ago. But what do we think? These are two teams, both sitting at 3-1, both playoff hopefuls and very good quarterbacks to boot. I'll go quickly. I think, the Texans kind of skated by a little bit last week against the 0-4 Jaguars. Defense didn't look great. That secondary and offensive line has been a consistent question throughout the past 4 games. And I think a good team like the Bills, they got knocked down in primetime this week. I think they're going to respond. I think it's going to be a good game because CJ Stroud's a great quarterback. But give me the Bills. I expect Josh Allen to make some key plays. Expect that running game to get going. The Bills are dealing with some injuries in terms of their receivers, but I think Josh Allen will make enough plays. Give me the Bills 28-24.
Yeah, I think this is a good get-right game for the Bills. We've seen the Josh Allen and McDermott era. They usually have a bad loss. They come back the next week and they take care of business. But to look at the Texans, I think this team might just be a year away. Last year, they had, obviously, CJ Stroud had the breakout in his first year. He was incredible. And the loftiest of expectations were placed on them this year. I just don't think they're there yet. Not necessarily saying that they're not going to be good this year or that they're not good, that they don't have the chance to go on a run. But I don't think the experience necessary for year-to-year, week-to-week consistency is there yet. And I think this is going to be a bit of a rough game for them when the Bills come out, better coach, and kind of punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, something feels off about the Texans right now. And I'm looking through their games. The stats seem fine. Nico Collins seems great. CJ Stroud hasn't been dominant, but he's been great for the most part. He's been solid. But you're looking at these scores, 24-20 against the Jags. 29-27 against the Colts, 19-13 against the Bears. Not really convincing victories over teams that they should have convincing victories over, especially as a supposed Super Bowl contender. I don't know. I have a feeling that the season isn't going to go great for them. I have a feeling the wheels could fall off at some point, and these close wins could turn into close losses. I think that happens this week against the Bills. I'll take them 30-24.
Yeah, I have a feeling this game for the Texans is going to turn out just like it did against the Vikings. I don't necessarily think that. I don't think it'll be like. I think it'll be a little bit closer. Don't get me wrong, but the trust that I have and that I thought that I had in this Texans offense was that Nico Collins would be surrounded by three great receivers, and honestly Diggs and Tank Dell have just been underwhelming for me. And Joe Mixon's been injured. I just haven't seen the connection and the production that you'd expect from like that top 5 offense, and with all the like weapons that they have over there. The Bills, I doubted Josh Allen at the beginning of the season about how he couldn't do it without his weapons, but they put up, I think, looking at this, they put up over 30 points every single game, like 34, 31, 47, and 30 or 10. But like
I was not there 35.
every single time they've won, which I do think they will, they've been putting up 30 points. So I'm going to take the Bills here. I'll have a little comfortable of a margin. I'll go 33-20.
Okay. Let's move to earlier game on Sunday morning in London. Jets Vikings. We've talked about both of these teams, where they're at coming in. Sam Darnold, early MVP candidate, facing his former team in the New York Jets. Trey, I'll start with you as our Vikings fan. Is this going to be a win for the Vikings in London?
Yes, it is. And the second half of last game was, it was very scary, but I actually, this Vikings offense it's just got so much potential. They've got so many combinations to roll out with. The Jets offense has been so shaky. If there's one thing that the Vikings have going for them, is the consistency from the defense, except for the second half of the last game. And with the fact that the Jets are looking so scared, the Jets are looking so inconsistent, and Garrett Wilson isn't really having that production with Aaron Rodgers, I think the Vikings secondary will, throw in a lot of pressure. It's going to be harder to get through the air. So I'll go with the Vikings, and it'll be a close game. I'll go 27-23.
Yeah, these London games are always a little bit weird, I think. Always going to be like low scoring and boring games. But at this point, I'd say give me the better team, give me the Vikings. I think it'll be a very low scoring close game because these defenses are both really, really good. I'm tempted to pick the Jets because of how good this defense is. I think they can make Sam Darnold sort of see ghosts out there and really get to him under pressure. But Brian Flores just looks dialed in right now. This defense is dialed in. Some shaky moments last week against the Packers, which also makes me pause. But I think the Vikings are the better offense right now, so I'll take them 13-10.
Yeah, give me the better coach team. I think Brian Flores is going to have a field day against the Jets offense that, like I said before, doesn't really have an identity, doesn't really know what they're doing week to week. And I think KOC and Darnold and that Vikings offense will tough Jets defense, but I think they'll get enough points to get it done. Give me the Vikings 2013 here.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick the Jets. I think it'll be a very close game. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Vikings win this game. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Aaron Rodgers at the line versus this Vikings defense and what Brian Flores was calling. Calls a lot of exotic blitzes, a lot of blitzes that confuse young quarterbacks, confuse Brock Purdy, confuse CJ Stroud in week 3, confuse Jordan Love in week 4, at least in the first half. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to diagnose these blitzes. I think this Jets defense, Sam Darnold's been very good, don't get me wrong, but PFF, some of the more advanced stats have shown he's not exactly everything people are claiming him to be a super top 5 quarterback right now. He's still making some Sam Darnold-like mistakes. I think the Jets defense is going to take advantage of it. I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. Breece Hall bounce back game. Give me the Jets here. You said 13-10 for the Vikings. I'll say 13-10 for the Jets with the last-minute field goal drive from Aaron Rodgers in London.
I don't know. That was supposed to happen last week in Greg's airline. Greg the leg.
Well, let's hope he can hit it in Tottenham. Let's go to the AFC North. Final game we're going to talk about in week. Oh wait, we don't have Steelers Cowboys on here. We have to talk.
We don't have to talk about it. I purposely left that off. 2 very boring teams in my opinion.
We got to talk about Steelers Cowboys.
What?
Ravens
It's just not-
Bengals isn't much.
Ravens Bengals is so much more fun, bro. Steelers Cowboys is just like
Yeah,
Steelers are a boring offense. Cowboys are just like not playing fun this year. It's
All right,
just
give me
like
the
a
Steelers
mediocre
24-17. I'm just gonna go with that. Really. But Ravens Bengals 1 o'clock kickoff. Cincinnati sitting at 1-3, big win against the Panthers last week. I'll go first. I have a feeling I'm going to be the only one who picks the Bengals here. I'm going to pick the Bengals. Let me tell you this: the Bengals' pass defense is terrible. Fortunately for the Bengals' pass defense, the Ravens' pass offense is terrible right now. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to face all the challenges they usually do with this with the passing games that they've been facing. Andy Dalton was able to do a lot of work in the first half. I don't think this Ravens passing offense should scare them. Joe Burrow has been honestly pretty awesome since week 2 and pretty consistently great. I think him, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins got on the same page last week. All 3 of them healthy now. All 3 of them have reps together. I think they're going to get back to work this week. Give me the Bengals, 24-20. I think it's going to be a fun game between these two, but I'm gonna trust Joe Burrow in this pass offense over this somewhat inconsistent Ravens pass offense, and also the Ravens pass defense is one of the worst in the league right now as well, without Mike McDonald at coordinator.
That's true, but I said this earlier about the Ravens. They have an identity, and I think they're going to use until the wheels fall off. The wheels don't fall off this week. This Bengals team has gotten, not only do they have a bad pass defense, they have a bad defense overall.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, they got gashed on the ground, 104 yards to Chuba Hubbard. 2 weeks before that, against the Chiefs, 90 yards to Pacheco. Week 1, 120 yards to Ramondre Stevenson. This is a bad defense, period. And I think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are going to run wild over them. I don't think Joe Burrow's going to have a bad game necessarily, but I think it's a similar thing to what you saw against the Bills, where he's playing from behind, he has to play the hero, and he just can't do that when you have the ball for less than half the game. Probably less than a third, almost a third of the game, probably, with the way that this Ravens team runs the ball. So give me the Ravens 20-17.
Yeah, I mean, Arjun, like the Ravens' pass offense statistically may not be incredible. Lamar's still Lamar. He can dice up a team.
Lamar, sorry to interrupt, but Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing. Lamar is ninth.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not.
This is a wild rushing attack.
Yeah.
the Ravens, they're going to run all over. They're going to run all over the Bengals, and that's going to open up the passing game. And Lamar's going to just dice this defense up. I think it's going to be like one of those classic Lamar performances, like he has with the Dolphins all the time. In my opinion, this Bengals defense is just terrible. Burrow, I don't think Burrow's going to have a bad game. I think he's going to play well. I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep up with how many points the Ravens are going to put up. I think this is going to be a shootout, maybe something like 41-30.
Oh,
something wild.
Jeez.
Because both of these defenses aren't that incredible.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Arjun here. I think the Bengals, for them, it's just the strategy is just having a great start at the beginning of the game so you don't let Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson eat up the clock running the ball on the ground. And for me, it's just I see the chemistry. Even though the Commanders won, the Bengals still put up 33 points. Jamar Chase had a fantastic game. And I don't think the momentum is going to stop. I think it's only getting started. So I think the Bengals are going to have a great game. I agree with Camille. It's going to be a shootout. I'll go something very high scoring as well. I'll go 33-30.
All right, let's move to rapid fire questions. Camille, you prepared some rapid fire questions this week. Why don't you take it away to end off the show today?
Yeah, sure. All right. Shree, are Andy Dalton and the Panthers legit?
What do you mean by legit?
Is this going to be a good team? Are they going to be competing in every game?
I don't think so. I mean, I genuinely think that that Andy Dalton game was a fluke. I don't think it's going to continue on and on and on for the rest of the season. They have a lot of divisional games coming up soon, and I think the other teams in the division are just really good.
I don't think so. I think this offense can be fun to watch. It'll be fun, but Andy Dalton can't do it himself, and this defense is bad.
Yeah, I think same here. Offense is going to be good. Deontay Johnson is showing him out to be a star. Chuba Hubbard is playing really well. Jonathan Brooks is maybe back in a couple weeks. Could be a fun offense, but not a good team.
Listen, I think they'll be pesky. I think they'll stay in games. Andy Dalton has a connection with Deontay Johnson. He's keyed into those two guys. I think it's just going to be fun to watch them, even if it's not going to be the best of football. Next question: Malik Neighbors or Jayden Daniels, Rookie of the Year?
This is really similar to last year. Now I'm thinking about it. Whereas Puka, who was a game-breaking receiver, set so many records, versus C.J. Stroud. I thought I should have gone to Puka because of how what's the word?
Momentum?
No,
momentous.
Monumental. Because of how crazy it was. And I get why C.J. Stroud won, considering quarterback's the most important position. But at this point, I think it has to be Neighbors. The stats he's putting up are insane. He's carrying this Giants offense. Jayden Daniels is great, but Neighbors is doing stuff we see from top 10 receivers. Jayden Daniels, I think, is doing stuff we see from top 10 quarterbacks. But I don't know. Neighbors is really the engine of this Giants offense right now.
For me, same thing. I think both these players are playing at top 5 levels at their respective positions. But I'm going to take the position that's more important, and the position they're winning more games right now
Sure.
than the Commanders than the Giants. Neighbors, his impact can't be understated. He's making this Giants offense as relevant as it can be. But Jayden Daniels is making this Commanders team relevant, and they're winning games because of them. So give me Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, exact same reasoning as Arjun. I also just think the NFL just loves Jayden Daniels. Like, they had him player of the week for the NFC over Juwan Jennings that one game, and Juwan Jennings had like a crazy stat line, 3 touchdowns over 190 yards or something like that. So I'll go with Jayden Daniels. He's reviving this franchise.
I'll buck the trend here. Jayden Daniels is incredible, and right now he's my rookie of the year, but I think he's going to have some duds throughout the year, just as a rookie quarterback tends to have. And I think Malik Neighbors, the consistent production in targets is going to be there every week. He's going to be getting double-digit targets each week, having some crazy games. He might have a truly ridiculous stat line, 1,700 yards or something to end the year. That's just how much he's getting.
With Daniel Jones as your quarterback, that's commendable.
Sure, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Even more
and Daniel Jones loves it.
Yeah.
Looking at every play. Next question: Fred Warner or Aiden Hutchinson for Defensive Player of the Year? No TJ Watt here. He is not a valid answer.
Fair. He will be eventually, but I understand why now he's not. Give me Fred Warner. I love Hutchinson, one of the most fun defensive players to watch in the league. But Fred Warner has been the unparalleled best linebacker in football for a very long time at this point. And I'm glad that finally this year he's having the stats to back that up, and people are finally taking notice. He's making this Niners defense that hasn't been amazing as we expected from the Niners defense. But he's making plays left and right to keep them in games.
Big moments.
Yeah, big moments, and he's stepping up for them at a time where not many of their other players are stepping up. So give me Fred Warner.
Yeah, I'm tired of edge rushers just getting sort of the quarterbacking their way to the depoy, like quarterbacks win the MVP. I think Fred Warner is the engine of this Niners defense. I think they're much worse off without him if you take him out than the Lions defense would be without Aiden Hutchinson, if that makes sense. He currently, we were looking at stats earlier, they were crazy, right? He has 3 forced fumbles, 2 picks, a touchdown, a sack. I think he has over I think 4 pass breakups as a linebacker. He's doing everything on the field right now. Hutchinson is easily the best defensive edge rusher as of now in the league. Up to this point, he's proved to be the best.
Stats, maybe in stats. But he's
6.5 sacks through 4 games is something.
That's something.
Every other metric as well.
Impact? I don't know. Sorry.
Maybe. But as of now, I think Fred Warner deserves it.
Yeah, Hutchinson is on pace to break the NFL record, but I think the thing about sacks is that it's just not sustainable throughout the entirety of the season. I think Fred Warner is going to have an impact every single game, and I think honestly he just deserves the Defensive Player of the Year for how great he's been for this 49ers defense. So give me Fred Warner.
Yeah, we have consensus here. I echo everything you guys said. Fred Warner is just incredible. And I think it's about time a linebacker of his talent, his impact, the amount that he does for this team gets recognized with the depoy.
Yeah. All right. Next one.
Wait, why is Georgetown University?
Do you want to take it? 1 second, Sherry. Sorry.
Yeah, good.
Hello? Yeah, that's me. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I think I did that multiple times, but I keep getting emails about it. I don't like I go to Hoya Housing and I add it and it just doesn't update it. On Hoya Housing, I update the in my access or G experience, and I add it and it just Uh-huh. Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, all right, sounds good. You too.
Are you gonna get one of those calls later and do that?
Dude, I've done it so many times. It just never takes.
Okay, sorry. All right, last question. Fields.
All right. Is Justin Fields the long-term answer for quarterback in Pittsburgh? What do we think?
I'll go first on this. I think the answer is yes. I think, to me, I feel like Arjun already knows. Like we've never had, this much production from our offense, like a glimmer of hope from our offense that could, get us in. I've never seen 300 yards in a passing game for such a long time from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if it was a losing attempt, like all of us were happy walking out of that loss, thinking the fact that we were down almost 20 points, we made it 24-27. It says a lot from a Steelers offense when their quarterback has over 300 yards. And that potential is there. But I think he is the long-term option. I think he just didn't work out with the Bears, and I'm glad he came to Pittsburgh.
I think the realistic answer is yes. I think you see what he's done so far. If he continues his production, the Steelers are going to say, okay, you look good, bring you back. I think the answer should be no, though. I think we've seen if you want to be a true Super Bowl contender, you need an elite quarterback. Don't talk to me about Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't talk to me about these other quarterbacks that aren't elite and make the Super Bowl. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you need to have that quarterback. You need to have that guy under center. And Justin Fields, he's looking better, but he's not that guy. He's not going to be that guy. I think you need to find him in the draft. You need to find some other way to get that guy. But if you want to be a true Super Bowl contender, these Steelers can be with the way this roster is constructed. You need someone better than Justin Fields.
I'm not gonna.
I'll let you go last.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I will say I don't really know enough about how Justin Fields has played this year. I haven't really watched him or the tape or whatever. But it's hard to imagine that his issues in Chicago have been fixed to such an extent that he's going to be a long-term franchise quarterback. Maybe he'll keep improving, but I tend to lean more with you, Rohan. I don't think he's going to be like an elite top 10 quarterback that can take you to Super Bowl. Maybe with a really good Steelers defense, he might be able to win some scrappy games on his way there. But I wouldn't take him as a franchise quarterback.
Yes, he is going to be the long-term quarterback for the Steelers. Justin Fields' problem was not that he couldn't produce elite plays every now and again. His problem was that he couldn't be a game manager. He could not manage the game at a consistent level for the Bears. He has solved that issue this year. He has developed in that. He is attacking the middle of the field. He's taking what the defense is giving him. He's not making crazy turnover plays. His one pick that he's thrown this year was not his fault. That was a drop from the receiver. The fumble last game was a bad beat for him, but largely I would say Justin Fields has solved a lot of his turnover issues and is taking what the defense is giving him. He is developing a lot more than I expected him to after seeing his play from the Bears last year, and it shows how much of a QB purgatory the Chicago Bears are. I think Justin Fields is going to continue to develop. Comparing him to Jimmy Garoppolo is a crazy comparison.
Okay, I'm just saying like in terms of non-elite quarterbacks who can get you to the Super Bowl.
Sure, but Jimmy Garoppolo never had elite upside. Justin Fields, he was drafted for elite upside. He is that athletic playmaker. He can make all the throws you would want him to. Just needs to do it at a consistent level. Encouraged by the progress, give him another year.
But I don't think you can get him on just 1 year, first of all. I think this is a long-term contract, and I don't know if he's worth that.
But I don't think he's going to demand top dollar. Let's say we make the playoffs.
He will.
I don't think he's going to demand $60 million a year. No other team is going to
somewhere between like the 40 to 60 range.
That's a huge range. That's $20 million. I will gladly take him at $40 million.
I mean, he's going to get more than $40 million. So Daniel Jones did. But
we'll see.
Anyways. All right, next question. Can the Bengals make the playoffs?
I'll go quickly. Absolutely, yes, they can. This AFC is not all that we thought it was going to be. This is one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best receivers in the league. Defense is not great, but they're going to be able to make it into the wild card. They're going to thrash a lot of these teams that they have coming up on their schedule. Fourth place schedule. Let's remember that from last year.
I'm going to say no. I think this is a great team, but you have 2 games against the Steelers, 2 games against the Ravens still left, not to mention the rest of their schedule. That already is a couple losses, and you're sitting at 3 losses already. I don't think it looks great, so I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yeah. I think there's only 4 teams in contention for that wild card. You got the Chargers, you got maybe the Jets, you got a combination of like the Steelers and Bengals and Ravens, and I think that's it. So I think judging, and I know they have like, a tough schedule and everything, but this is a team that's on the incline, on the upside right now. They've already put up over 30 points. We already know how good that connection is. So I'll say yeah.
Yeah, I'll go yes as well. I just took a look at the schedule right now. It's pretty bad. They should be able to get to 9-8. I think that should get it done in the AFC this year. It's not a very tight field in the AFC. But as a team itself, I don't think they're much of a contender just because that defense is so terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final question. Do we think that Sam Darnold can make an All-Pro this year in the NFC? Not MVP, but do we think he's going to be good enough throughout the year to get that nod?
All Pro or Pro Bowl?
All-Pro.
No.
All Pro.
I think All Pro is probably going
First or second team. I don't know.
I would say All Pro is going to go to 2 out of the following 3 quarterbacks. Probably Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, or Jordan Love.
Well, All Pro is not an NFC award.
Well, either way, I
Yeah,
would say
yeah.
those 3 quarterbacks long term, I expect to outperform Sam Darnold this season. Okay.
I'm gonna say no. All Pro. I think you're only looking at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson right now.
Brock Purdy.
Maybe Brock Purdy. I don't think Sam Darnold can keep up the pace.
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree. I mean, I think I'll make the
Come on,
Pro Bowl.
Sherry, have some.
No, I mean, listen. Like, as much as I'd like to say, like, oh, Sam Darnold's been great and everything. When you look at the touchdown that he's thrown, you don't really see a ton of amazing plays from Sam Darnold. I
The
still
one touchdown, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson.
Beautiful.
Maybe
Yeah,
most
amazing
touchdowns.
ball placement. Like, I agree. Like, that was one throw that was amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, but like all the other touchdowns are like short check downs or like they're like crossing routes or something like that. So I just need to see like more spectacular playmaking from Sam Darnold. And honestly, the defense is helping him out a ton. So you give me the other quarterbacks that Arjun listed.
I love that we're giving Sam Darnold the Brock Purdy treatment, calling him a yak, a crosser merchant.
No, I'm going to go ahead and say that Sam Darnold can make the All-Pro just because you look at some of the top quarterbacks play around the league. Patrick Mahomes is struggling in the Chiefs offense that right now has no playmakers. I don't think there's that many locks right now at All-Pro. There's been question marks at least all across the league with
Baker Mayfield, forgot to mention him.
Baker Mayfield's been playing very well. But you look around the league and Sam Darnold right now is really the only quarterback that's week in, week out, great numbers, been winning his team games. And another underrated aspect, he has a great defense. A lot of All-Pro and these end-of-season awards come down to how you do as a team. And if the Vikings are looking at a 14-3 regular season finish with how well this team as a whole is playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold ends up getting a nod there.
In another episode, we're gonna have to start having the Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy conversation.
We were having that conversation.
We need to talk about this, but not today.
Let's see one more episode.
Yeah,
see if they get to 5-0. Gonna be a fun week 5 we have ahead of us. We'll have good games. We did not talk about Steelers Cowboys. I'm very annoyed at that. But I will get over it. Steelers are going to win.
I don't have any.
See what kind of a great episode you get.
Sunday Night Football, historic rivalry between these two teams.
Historic rivalry.
Steelers, Cowboys, come on.
Steelers, Cowboys is historic. Come on, now.
It's historic.
We need to start running the outlines more.
Yeah, I mean, Steelers. Nobody wants to.
No respect for football heritage. No respect for talking about the Vikings more often than the Steelers. It's crazy.
Hey, that's chill. I'm okay with that too.
Anyway, but thank you guys so much for listening. Please check out our Instagram for power rankings, picks, and more. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Sri Bangkanda.
I'm Camille and Danny.
And I'm Ron Patel.
And we will see you next week in week 6 on the turf.